December 26, 2004, the day after Christmas, news from half a world away brought our one human family together in a very profound way. The world was stunned when millions of people had their lives uprooted by the devastating Indian Ocean tsunami that hit Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and India. People responded quickly and compassionately.
CRS's unprecedented response to the challenge of meeting human needs in the middle of a disaster the size of the tsunami is of historic proportions. Within 6 weeks, Catholic Relief Services had been given and entrusted with $172 million from both Catholic individual donors as well as larger organizations that knew that we would have the ability to deliver the needed support, the needed assistance to the tsunami victims.
Early on in January 2005, we realized that we had a very large commitment of money entrusted to us by the American Catholic public, and that we had to be responsible stewards. But our experience said that to spend it just quickly on anything would be irresponsible. So we laid out a 5-year plan. That was our best thinking, that it would take 5 years to accomplish in an effective way the reconstruction plans that we had imagined, conceptualized.
Catholic Relief Services, the official international relief and development agency of the U.S. Catholic community, with local partners, endeavored not to just replace what was lost, but to build back better. In India, CRS committed $37 million for emergency relief and rebuilding efforts. It was here where CRS's existing presence made a big difference. CRS was ready to respond immediately and effectively. In Sri Lanka, CRS committed $30 million for recovery efforts, much of that work taking place on the fringes of violence and war. With existing partners like Caritas Sri Lanka, CRS was able to focus the recovery efforts on shelter rebuilding, trauma counseling, and small businesses, building over 4,800 permanent homes and providing the tools and resources to get 8,600 families on their feet and working again.
We saw what was happening along the coast in India early. And then we learned how bad it had hit Sri Lanka. But we didn't know how bad it had hit Aceh in the northern part of Sumatra in Indonesia, because that was a part of that country that had been isolated. There had been a war going on for about 20 years, and we didn't have operations up there. So we struggled in the next few days to get someone back into the area, and one of our staff came from Aceh, Banda Aceh, and he and some of our expatriate staff walked in. Took about 3 days to get into Banda Aceh. And then we found the magnitude of the devastation.
In the first year, most of our programming was emergency response. Then it transitioned into our temporary programs, temporary shelter, temporary water and sanitation systems, distribution of non-food items, food, and so forth. Then it transitioned again into the permanent structures, permanent houses, permanent water and sanitation systems, roads, bridges, clinics, hospitals, the Tamansari Park in central Banda Aceh. And we will be continuing that into the end of 2008, and the health program will continue beyond that for another couple of years.
In Malabo, a coastal city in Indonesia, there was widespread devastation. One village in particular, the Panggong community, was completely destroyed.
There's one particular area of the city of Malabo, which is on the peninsula of the city, that was particularly hard hit because the waves came from 3 directions. After the tsunami, that place was completely leveled. We've rebuilt a community there of houses that are higher than the original houses they were in before because it was susceptible to flooding.
Jadi CRS ini banyak membantu pada penduduk.
CRS was the first NGO to help our people. Firstly, CRS helped with temporary shelters, and then a few months after that, CRS built us permanent houses.
Yang tinggal di sini kita ada 4 orang.
4 people live in this house, myself, my brother, and my parents. What I like about my house in particularly is my room. The house is provided with 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, and I like the fact that the house is a very strong house.
In December 2007, CRS, the local construction partner, and government officials celebrated the completion of rebuilding activities with a key handover ceremony with the Pangong residents. The tremendous outpouring of donations from across the United States allowed CRS to launch one of the largest relief and recovery efforts in its 65-year history. Emergency communication from CRS went out to the dioceses and parishes across America, and the response was astounding. Over the course of 1 month, CRS raised up to and sometimes exceeded $1 million a day through the website and direct appeals. As a result of the overwhelming generosity of American Catholics and non-Catholics, as well as the U.S. government and other organizations, CRS raised $204 million to provide emergency and long-term reconstruction assistance to the tsunami-affected areas.
The compassion and the understanding and the care and the concern that the donors had when they actually called into our internal or external call center was just unbelievably amazing. People were very concerned about, wanting to get updates and understand and what else can we do, and wanting to volunteer and provide whatever they possibly could. We had, cab drivers coming in asking for business reply envelopes they could share with their various fairs throughout, the first couple of days on how can I help you collect more information.
One inspiring story of compassion comes from the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. Shortly after the tsunami in Newtown Square, Pennsylvania, a 3rd grader named Allie wanted to contribute in her own way to help the tsunami survivors.
I had so much. They had so little now. They lost family, everything that belonged to them, and lots of friends. So I felt, I have all of this. They need all of this. What can I do to help? And so I thought of the beaded pens. I had made tons of pens, and I collected over $1,000 of a donation. And, well, I put it together with the 3rd grade bake sale and the student council. And all together, I forget how much we made, but we made a lot to give to the CRS.
I feel the Archdiocese of Philadelphia's response to the tsunami was probably similar to the Catholic community across the United States. I feel that people here and across the country really sensed that oneness with people across the ocean. Maybe they didn't know their names, their situations, their stories, but I think it really made people realize that we really are one human family, and that in a spirit of solidarity, those of us in a church in Philadelphia, a church in New York, a church in Sacramento, a church in St. Louis, all wanted to do something in that spirit of solidarity to reach out to a brother and sister.
Now that several years have passed since the tsunami, the progress in rebuilding is abundantly clear. The dollars, quarters, nickels, and dimes collected have been turned into homes, hospitals, clinics, parks, schools, and new jobs.
It was a challenge, but now, 3 years later, we see that we have really accomplished what we set out to accomplish.
Thanks to you, CRS remains in the tsunami-affected area, working with our partners to help these resilient people recover, heal, and thrive once again. Their indomitable spirit is inspiring. Your heart really can reach around the world. For more stories and information about CRS's response to the tsunami, please visit crs.org/tsunami.